Thank you guys. So first of all, very grateful to In-House to put together this amazing event, and also for you guys to come in and hopefully enjoy the next 45 minutes or so. Our friends in the back, it's a little loud. Can we have you guys just...
Why don't you come and join us? Come on. Come on down.
Thank you so much. If you really want to talk to someone, the balcony is amazing. So feel free to use the beautiful views outside. You have really good audio quality. So I'm excited, ecstatic actually, by the amazing people we have on the panel today. They are, in my opinion, some of the most legendary people in the Web3 space today. And they span a wide and diverse set of locations, backgrounds, and experiences. So without further ado, I'm just going to go down the line, have everyone sort of say maybe 30 seconds, a minute about themselves. You get a diverse sense of who they are. And then we're going to dive into the main topic today, which is actually the future of network states. And one small correction, that flashy guy with the nice sweater in the middle is not Jeff. He is Raiz. He's the founder and CEO of Mass. But you'll hear more from Raiz in a second. So with that, maybe I can start with Arthur.
Hello, folks. My name is Art. I am the COO, or not anymore. I'm the Managing Director of the Vana Foundation and co-founder of Vana. Vana is a layer one for user-owned data. So the idea being that you create data capital every day and you actually get no benefit from it. So we allow users to be able to create things with that data and to be able to earn rewards with it. In a former life, I also set up a small island nation, or helped to set up a small island nation. I'll probably talk about that a little bit later on this panel.
Kuzambola, that's how we, I'm from Bhutan. I'm Tandem Sonam, and it's a privilege to be here. And Max, thank you for inviting me. And I am a filmmaker, I am a lawyer, and now I am a Web3 blockchain crypto enthusiast. I'm very interested in it. And I would like to, in a nutshell, describe our country, Bhutan. It's a very small country, hardly 700,000 people, but we have a leader. It is a democratic monarch, so we have a king, and our king happens to be the inspiration to me and the other 700,000 Bhutanese, because he is very compassionate and very empathetic to his citizens. And we are coming up with a very smart city called GMC, and we're looking forward to that. And Bhutan, I think in a nutshell, we embrace the new, but we also preserve the ancient wisdom. So it is a combination of these two, and yeah, I'll elaborate more later, but that's about me right now. And I act sometimes, and we have a project that's coming together that I would like to share later. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Max, for having us. My name's Raiz. 16 years ago, dropped out of MIT with two Irish boys to co-found a company now called Stripe. 100 billion in market cap payment processor has dominated developer-oriented payments. In the last 15 years since, I've had a hand in co-founding many projects. Most relevant to today, I lead founder and CEO of a company called Mass, which is an infrastructure layer for building network states, amongst other things. One of the core services we provide to network states is a way to manipulate value in the real world, structuring corporate entities, banking those entities, taking out lines of credit, and all the financial and legal plumbing needed to make the network state dream happen. Beyond that, I advise a whole slew of funds, 280 Capital, actually DNA Fund, Polychain Capital, and also sit on the board of a number of relevant foundations like the Dogecoin Foundation, who's building out a network state around Doge OS and the new upcoming Doge L2. So happy to be here.
Yeah, Max, thanks for having us. The dream team again. My name is Luc. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer of RAC Digital Asset Oasis. It's a government-backed incubator based in the UAE. I actually relocated there just 6 months ago. Before that, I lived in Hong Kong for 14 years. So it's always a pleasure to be back. Out of these 40 years, plus 6 of them, my career was in financial services. trader, portfolio manager, and the last role with Fidelity International, setting up their digital asset business. So launching the first Bitcoin ETF tokenizing fund. I continue to be active in the financial space, mostly as an advisor, and very happy to be again with some of you guys.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amber. Now, I have a day job of working in a Ethereum Layer 2 foundation as the head of ecosystem and operation. But I also have an interesting role, which is contributing to a project called Zuzulu. It started 2 years ago, around this time, just around before East Denver. Vitalik had this idea to actually act on Balaji's ideology of network state, which is a new contributing movement, and he called upon like 200 people. We lived in Montenegro to start with for 2 months, and that started a whole movement of instead of having youth conferences around the globe of maybe three or 4 days with thousands of people, you have a dedicated small group, and you have people to build face-to-face connections and have cross-pollination between not only crypto and Ethereum, but also like other things like what we see today, DeSci. Part of it was those kind of collaboration between science community and Ethereum community. So this kind of cross-pollination, small-scale, long-time interaction offline, as a format, is called now sometimes Zuzulu. This movement has decentralized over the last 2 years, and we now have groups around the globe, like many countries, and each year we have maybe like 30 different Zuzulu around the globe. So I've been helping to curate Gitcoin rounds for Zuzulu. I've been trying to have more founders to join this movement, and so today is a privilege to sit here and share more of my insights with you. Thanks.
Awesome. So just a quick show of hands in the audience today. Like, how many heard of network states before today? And how many guys have considered getting membership in one of the network states? If you can just shout out which membership of network states. I mean, how many guys have passports in Liberland or what are other
Praxis.
network states you guys have joined?
Praxis.
Praxis. Yeah.
Network school.
Okay. Well, I think for me, one of the cool things that I want to just highlight is like the evolution of this idea of citizenship has really taken on leaps and bounds in the last 2 or 3 years. In the old days, you're born into a country that you don't necessarily get to choose, and you have to obey a set of laws about how life works in that country. And with crypto and the idea that you can actually decentralize your access to finance, to money, certainly now other parts of your life become more liberalized. And what we're seeing now is almost like the second chapter of that is not only are people moving around the world being digital nomads, but also countries and special economic zones are created now specifically to attract and cater to this new mobile class. And what I want to tease out from the panel today is one, from the, let's say, countryside, like what are philosophies of actually creating destinations that attract the best and brightest of the world today to come and live there and work there and create companies there. That's one part of our conversation. The second part is what kind of new infrastructure do we want to create, financial, legal, regulatory, and data-wise, actually that help govern and capture the value of that infrastructure. And then the third part is how do we actually, design new constitutions, new ways of life, new motivating factors that actually bring diverse people together into a common tribe. That's my hope for the panel today. So with that, maybe I can start with actually Luke, as someone who both straddles traditional finance and now is actually actively in the process of running RackDAO. Can you talk a little bit about how RackDAO came to be, right? It's a very unique history, and also what type of companies and founders are you looking to attract into Rack?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty short story in the sense that it's about a year and a half ago, the ruler of one of the 7 Emirates came up with the vision and the vision of where he wanted the Emirates to be. Ras Al Khaimah, RAK in short, was more famous for tourism, for ceramic, for the sport industry. It's a great place for tourism, by the way, nice beaches. But they also wanted to play a key role in the digital asset space. And on the back of that, that's where they decided to set up this, what they call in the UAE a free zone. You can call that a special economic zone or like a mini country. I come from Switzerland, we call that a canton. So you do respect the federal law, but you can have your own flexibility. And that's how RAK Digital Asset Oasis emerged. We are fully focused on digital asset blockchain company. It can be wide, right? We just launched a license dedicated to AI agent developers because we see the connection with the blockchain space. So that's in short what it is. We've now been running for over a year. About 500 company onboarded, incorporated. There are startups, there's very small entity, there are bigger names. Within the bigger name, you would have the Ethereum Foundation, you would have you have a lot of other layer one and layer two. And but we also cater to small guys because ultimately the idea is to be an incubator. And if I had to summarize in one word what RAK Digital Asset Oasis is a government-backed incubator. You come with your project, you are specialized in coding, you have no idea how to build a community, you have no idea how to design your white paper or your governance framework. We're going to put you in touch with the right people and help you grow. To your second question, the type of company that we attract, I would start by what we don't attract. So we're not in the regulated space in the sense that we don't deal with company operating in payment, in exchanges. We do anything but that. So you still can be building an infrastructure that will enable banks to interact with each other, but as long as you don't touch client money, there is no attachment with KYC, for instance, that you can come with us. And the reason why it's more, I prefer to look at it as a negative way instead of a prescriptive way, is that, 6 months ago, we didn't know that we would be launching an AI agent license. I mean, we spent a lot of time together discussing this. This idea, and maybe we'll get there also, of DAO. We launch a license specifically for DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, to license themselves to let operate. So we keep it open. You have a great idea, you solve some real world problem, you're very welcome. Otherwise, there are other people doing this business.
Amazing. And if I can say this out loud, I think I'm going to give you permission of our conversation. Binance actually has a number of entities licensed in Iraq, right? And so there's this interesting distinction of like, if there are entities of this, conglomerates that have the license activity, the other parts of it actually could also find homes in Iraq, right? So some of the biggest names in crypto actually are already customers of you guys today. And another jurisdiction I want to highlight is our friend Tandin here. As a spokesperson for Bhutan, I want to clarify, not officially a part of GMC, but someone who knows the king very well, is also very in touch with the mission of the country. Bhutan is a very remarkable place. How many guys have heard of Bhutan as a country? And how many guys have had a chance to visit Bhutan so far? Amazing. You guys are the next batch of people. The unique thing about Bhutan recently, and I was very lucky to go and have a chance to visit, is that the king of Bhutan is very innovative. And so one thing he did is actually he took the excess hydroelectricity capacity of the country and started mining Bitcoin. And today, Bhutan has about $1 billion in Bitcoin. It's actually the fourth largest sovereign holding of Bitcoin in the world. And that's a very big impact for a small country. So Tandin, tell us a bit more about the vision of GMC and also about your amazing country and where you think actually Bhutan wants to play a role in this big, exciting digital world.
Yeah, thank you, Max. Thank you so much. Like Max said, Bhutan is a very small country, but I think currently we are the fourth in the world in crypto Bitcoin holding. I think $1.2 billion. So a country of small geographical structure and population that is very minimal. I think we're not to flaunt. We're not flaunting at all, but. So that you guys are interested in me, a small-time guy from a small country. So I have to put it out there. But yeah, So His Majesty the King has done a wonderful job, and it is mining through hydropower, and yeah, we're doing great. And now, as a filmmaker, I was thinking to myself, what can I do? Right? I'm like related to Web3, Bitcoin, as in like crypto, blockchain, all of this. And then I met data scientist guy, Max, and that was good serendipity. We met in Bhutan, Bhutan Innovation Forum, and so we were discussing like none of us are gonna live forever. Like another 70 years from now, I think all of us are going to be dust. Sorry, but that's the fact. And of course, we do want to make money. That is of paramount importance. But we also want to leave a good legacy behind for the future that's on the way for our kids or their kids. Basically, for all the human beings down the line. So then we thought of something called Dharma Code. It's called Dharma Code. And basically what it is it is a good amalgamation and combination between the ancient wisdom that is very valuable, but also embracing the new Web3 attributes. And yeah, we're delving into trying to make a proper feature-length movie based on Web3, blockchain, AI, all of that. And slowly, gradually, maybe, yeah, Dharma Code can also be a crypto thing. You never know. But yes, so what I'm trying to do, and what with the leadership of Max, we're trying to do is we're trying to come up with a proper feature film called Dharma Code, which emphasizes on the importance of what we feed AI. I have come up with the own acronym called AIHE. We are in the era of AIHE, AI helping era. So AI is helping us right now. But after 100 years, I think it's going to be AILE, which is going to be AI leading era. And when they lead us, we want them to lead us with empathy and compassion. Right now, social media is a form of AI, and we're feeding a lot of toxicity. Yeah? Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I think there are more toxicity than optimistic things. So like, AI is like a child, and it's receiving all the information, be it good or bad. If you feed more bad, AI is going to be a bad leader in the future. If you're going to feed good information, it's going to be a good leader in the future. And that's what we're looking forward to do, and that's the idea that me and Max here, we share. And we're going to start from a feature film, but slowly, gradually, we're going to delve into Web3. And then that film is going to be based on how Web3-based community can help shape AI in a better way. And you guys are the leaders, and that's where we're touching. And later I would like to share more. Yeah, thanks, Max.
I just want to say, because Tan is very humble. Actually, Tan is a very well-known actor in Bhutan. So we were having coffee in the main streets, and every 5 minutes someone come over and say and pay his respects. So I can see his appeal, right, to all the people in his country. They see him as someone they really respect and appreciate. And recently, His Majesty King Bhutan also has made Tandin a core contributor to a new working group actually responsible for thinking through the organization of cultural arts and crafts in the country. Right? How do you actually take the amazing cultural heritage of Bhutan, actually allow the rest of the world to access it and see it? And the third thing was really interesting is that this new special economic zone that's been launched called GMC, Colorful Mindfulness City, is one of the first places actually to have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So that actually has been created by decree. And CZ actually from Binance was there meeting with His Majesty in December and sort of, I guess, contributing to the design of policy formation there as well. So while it is very much in the mystical parts, Bhutan is also an accessible place, and I highly encourage you guys to have a chance to meet Tandin and have a chance to go visit the country in the future. So before we turn the mic over to Art and Raiz to talk about infrastructure for network states, I want to give Amber a chance to share, because Zuzulu has actually come up about this from a different perspective. Instead of one particular location, Zuzulu actually is engaged with many different parts of the world, and the members of Zuzulu have actually gone and created pop-up cities in many, many jurisdictions. Amber also was there when the president of Montenegro came and actually spent time with the community. And I think that's actually really interesting. So can you share a bit more of kind of where you see Zuzulu touching as many different countries as you have, and what the ethos of Zuzulu is, and what kind of people come to Zuzulu?
Yeah, so back in 2023, one of the reasons why the first Zuzulu was in Montenegro was also because Montenegro is going through the political change where there is a new leadership coming up, which is way younger, in their 30s, 40s, instead of like the old guy was ruling for maybe like 2, 3 decades for the past. So the new leadership was very keen on innovation and the talents, and they're thinking about, okay, if we want to join EU, if we wanted to do more new frontier things, where should we look at? And they decided to look at crypto. So one of the background was they were working on this law specifically on with Ethereum founder to set up like a court in Montenegro, and this is one of the reasons why it was set up over there. So it's quite interesting because Norway State kind of like the idea when prototype one, when Balaji was thinking of this, he was thinking, okay, if we have a network of people all over the globe sharing the same ethos, then in the later stage of this movement, we can take them offline, and then all of those people sharing the same ethos can have their own jurisdiction, can have their own sort of entity, and it's kind of like a bottom-up approach. But in reality, the first Zulu starting from that, it was kind of like they were in touch with the government officials from the very start, and the government, I think they have like a few main asks. One is, how do we have the talents come here? It's like a very small domestic market, but crypto is a global thing where everybody can work from home. You can create a $1 million, $1 billion companies from apartment with Wi-Fi. Like you don't need to like be in touch with the physically domestic market. So this is one of the things that's appealing to many of those small medium countries where the domestic market is very limited. So how do we attract those talents? How do we attract those talents so that they can help our younger generation? Is like one of the most important things for them. And this applied to Montenegro first, and then we saw it the same in a few other locations that had Zulu kind of formation later. For example, Argentina. People may have some opinions about Milai, but since his inauguration, Filecoin people, Juan and his team and the Christian Mental team set up this new pop-up city in Argentina, and they have like they're doing great. Like every time it's like hundreds of developers coming together to learn different kind of technology. There's like many hackathons, etc., and it was highly encouraged by the local, like Buenos Aires government was so bullish on crypto for a while. They were trying to buy Bitcoin as their reserve. They were trying to set up nodes of Ethereum in their city, and they supported the Christian mental movement of like helping the local students and young developers to learn about this whole technology stack and create their things. And the same thing happened in many jurisdictions. We went to Bhutan. The king was very interested in this idea. In Africa, like new jurisdiction in Tanzania, Zanzibar, they set up the whole thing for this as well, trying to help the initiative. So I think I can see like from in reality, like there is a kind of like unplanned, unintended, but the government of small and medium-sized country have been very encouraged in this kind of inflow of it's more sticky than your usual digital nomads people, because those people, they came in as a group, they stay around, they have like many like designed intellectual curiosity, kind of a sharing and burst of creativity, and this is a very interesting influence of the local government.
Thank you, Amber. Rees, I know you have an important phone call at 45, so I'm gonna give you a chance to talk a bit more. I know you're also working with many different jurisdictions, especially creating a network of licensed banks that actually can hold digital assets. Can you talk a little bit about the cool thing that Mass is doing and how that facilitates the backbone of this new economy?
Sure. I think an important framing here is to even ask, what does the word network state mean? I mean, we've just heard three different instantiations of the network state context tied to an emirate, tied to a country, and then tied to some kind of delocalized movement, a group of people who have a shared common aim. Something that helps me understand this very wide design landscape is there's a parameter which we might call localization or delocalization, like how localized is this network state, or how delocalized is it? On the one end of the spectrum, you might have an emirate like Ras Al Khaimah or a country like Bhutan. In the middle, you might have these special economic zones or these digital special economic zones, where a country is trying to delocalize its resources, trying to attract foreign direct investment, trying to attract foreign entrepreneurs to domicile their businesses. It might be about free trade. It might be something as simple as the success story of Shenzhen, which sits as a membrane between mainland China and Hong Kong as a financial center, kind of buffer between capital and KYC on the outside and the inside. Not on the far end of the spectrum, which I believe is truly new, something that we can only do in an age where we have cryptocurrencies and tokens as a mass coordination technology, is this very interesting delocalized network state context, which pioneered by the Zuzulu folks and also by some quieter projects. There's one project I'm involved with called Vibe House, which is a delocalized, decentralized network state where the inner heart of crypto Twitter went around tagging some of the wealthier, more influential members of crypto Twitter to effectively coordinate between around 400 or 500 individuals, combining a total net worth of around $100 billion. And the idea there is not even to do a land grab, to set up shop in any particular country, or even do pop-up locations. The idea is to coordinate that capital through the network's token, through the network incentives, to run effectively syndicates that have no location. So I just wanted to set the stage to say that the concept of a network state is at least as complex as the concept of a corporation. There's no single corporation. There are non-profits, there are for-profits, there are single-person LLCs, mom-and-pop stores, there are giant multinational faceless conglomerates. And whatever a network state is, or whatever the infrastructure for a network state should be, it needs to be able to span this entire spectrum and maybe even help people build something somewhere on the spectrum and help it evolve and move, which is a considerable task. So if we take this perspective, we can ask, what are the core components of a network state? And right at the beginning, I think an easy thing to claim is a proof of personhood protocol, a way of proving that this is a person, this is a legitimate, natural, legal person who was once upon a time on some location in the planet, was verified by other people who are trusted, who can enter some kind of registry. It could be centralized, it could be decentralized, it could be on-chain, it could be off-chain, but that identity component is probably the most important foundational building block, and in my opinion, we haven't even solved the proof of personhood protocol problem yet. There are numerous groups, some of which I have a hand in seeding, some of which are still at the research stage, say out of MIT, who are trying to do palm scanning technology to try to produce cryptographic hashes around unique identity, something like a scalable technology that can be used by anybody's phone to verify anybody. And that's something like a primitive we need before we can even talk about passports, before we can even talk about scalable decentralized KYC. Once we have that underlying, say, identity layer, this ability to do KYC or understand I am the passport holder of this network state, then we can start to do very interesting decentralized things like building ledgers for corporate registries, allowing these either localized or delocalized network states to register companies with them, to bank those corporations, which are not classical corporations now, bank these crypto projects, non-crypto projects, in a way that might be best fitting for the architecture of that network state. And that looks like a bunch of different things. Max just highlighted we are actually building at Mass a decentralized network of banks. So this means, normally people say you shouldn't even try to run one bank, it makes you miserable. So we're so masochistic that we're trying to run 20 banks at the same time. These banks are all around the world, 4 in the United States, 2 in Switzerland, and a couple in some interesting domiciles where we're working closely with the government to bootstrap either a special economic zone or a delocalized network state, including Kazakhstan, Zanzibar, Botswana, couple countries in South America have just signed up to explore similar questions. The idea is to set up bank licenses in all of these locations and link them so that they combine to form one virtual bank. So any single dollar deposited in that virtual bank can be scheduled across all of these jurisdictions. As long as we have this KYC, this identity layer, we can manage a portable KYC across all these locations. And this means that we get a attack resistance concept of fiat banking, which is lacking in crypto and really in anywhere in the world right now. I mean, we used to have banks like Signature Bank or SVB or a couple other banks that were very crypto friendly, mostly in the United States, and through various legal and illegal mechanisms, the feds have shut each of those projects down, tanked those banks, and killed many of the crypto projects that lived on top of them. And so some kind of decentralized, sufficiently decentralized to begin with, and later on truly decentralized network of banks is necessary in order to sustain the network state dream, or even to bank crypto projects, because that's the only way we can make it resistant to any single policy change, any single instance of state capture, where a bad actor may sponsor a government and take over their privileges in regulatory compliance. Once you have that banking infrastructure layer, then you can talk about attracting investment. And what that means is using the identity and the banking layer to structure capital and securitize capital. In the United States, the largest economy on the planet, for many, many reasons. One of those reasons is that they have a gigantic army. But another reason is that that army is able to defend securitized assets. So that means there's enough trust and there's legal and physical technology to be able to take capital, lock it in some kind of structure, and defend that structure against attacks. And that means you have a board like the SEC, you have the SFTC, you have a number of federal organs, a number of local and federal and global enforcement agencies that protect bad actions against those assets. And that means that you're able to sustainably attract investment and have that function in an industrial scale capacity over 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And on top of that, we see a kind of AI agentic app layer that can orchestrate the participation within these new styles of digital economy. So that's a very abstract view of basically what Mass is building as an API suite, as an infrastructure layer, and also as a relationship network where we're building with many different countries and an advisor now to, I think, 5 different countries, both through Mass and also through the Doge economic state. And a word on that, the Doge economic state lives a little bit more like the Zuzulu project, where it doesn't bind itself to any one country. It rather wants to act as a coordination mechanism for capital. I mean, you have on the one hand Elon, who's rumored to hold 7% of the Doge supply, and also have incentivized another 3 to 4% of his Tesla and SpaceX employees to have brought up around 10% of the Doge supply. So that's a strong incentivization and coordination mechanism for hundreds of billions of dollars in capital and high agency individuals to invest that capital as coordinated by the Doge economic state policy. And that means they'll be buying out real world locations like McDonald's in and outside of the United States. It's one of the kind of, I kid you not, high priority meme private equity plays in the Doge economic state. And we truly live in a new world. That is on the agenda simply because Elon tweeted a couple years ago that if a McDonald's ever accepts cryptocurrency, the Dogecoin specifically, he will go on national television and eat a McDonald's burger. And so this is one of the first KPIs of the Doge economic state. And it hints at something truly fundamentally new about what these new delocalized economic states are. They truly are about coordination as a technology. They're really about the power of memes, the power of ideas, to incentivize these high agency actors to do something that was not possible on a smaller scale. So maybe I'll hand over there.
Thank you, Reese. Wow. Please tell us about which McDonald's we should go to actually to spend those.
Active discussion in the chat right now, actually.
So, Art, with that as a great segue point, I'd love to have you talk a little bit about the lifeblood of the new digital economy, which is data, and the way that human relationships to data has been in the past, where we don't actually get to really own any of our data, where it's going, some of the really exciting work you're doing, both in the Vana, let's say, token incentive side, and also on the legal side, actually giving people more control of that data so they can actually become full-bodied digital economic agents.
Just so that I get a temp check in the room, who here has ever trained an AI model? Cool. Awesome. So we got a few folks. Who here has used like a ChatGPT or an agent? Something like that. Cool. Everyone. Okay. So that's just like setting the stage here. So I think about, I love this kind of idea of like, where do we want to go in terms of an organizing principle for us as humanity? I think that's really important. But I want to start with where we're at today, because there are certain primitives that exist that keep us in a certain place. So I think about data as it is today as a form of colonialism, in which there are people. Colonialism is the practice of extracting value from people in ways that they don't understand the value that you're extracting from them. And that's exactly what's happening every single day with you and your data, where you're creating so much value for centralized actors that are not acting in your interests, and they're able to convert that into capital, just in the same way that colonialism happened, and able to use that to further subjugate their colonialism by getting you back into the algorithms and getting you to provide them more capital. And that's a fundamental flaw that we have in the existing system, and it's going to be even more fundamental as we become more and more reliant on artificial intelligence. And so the principle underlying Vana is this idea of self-sovereign data. You create it. It's the post-feudalistic idea of we are the owners of the fruits of our labor, and we can freely exchange that in the market. And when that data goes to create such amazing things, we should have the ability to reap the rewards of that and also freely choose what our data creates. There are so many algorithms. So I actually come from a data sales background as well. I work for there's a very small group of people, companies in the world that broker everybody's data. It's about 8 to 10 of them. I work for one that provided data for all the big tech companies and also powered all of the ChatGPT stuff that you're looking at, Google Ads, Google Search, Facebook Feed. We provided all the data that went to train that, right? And none of the people in this room probably got a single piece of economic incentive for providing that data, but all of our data is in all of that technology. So if we're thinking about the future of a network state, it needs to be, and we're thinking about the future of economies that rely on data, it's so integral that we have some degree of ownership over that as a fundamental building block of economic activity in the future. Where currently, it's really interesting that we've got some folks who are from sovereign nations and doing special economic zones. Through my background, we're actually piloting this idea with, I can't say, but a small island nation, where the Minister of Finance in that nation was thinking about how do I protect my citizens in a world in which AI proliferates. And I said, you get them to bank their data, because their data is capital. You get them to put their data into Vana and to be able to use that later on so that they can create economic activity, prosperity, choice, which is ultimately the building block of the state. It's the ability to use your freedom to create. And right now, I think the primitive is that we cannot.
I just want to highlight a really interesting point about colonialism. So if you think about what Art's saying, it's like, you sort of give the corporations the tools to do these personalized algorithms through your data, and then they use those tools to extract more data from you, right? And I think a little bit about the British Empire. So this is gonna be a little politically incorrect. We're living in Hong Kong, and Hong Kong's here because there was a trade imbalance between the British and the Chinese. And so in order to correct the trade imbalance, the British found a different colony they had access to where they grew opium. And then they shipped it to Hong Kong, and they started the opium trade. And that opium trade led to a lot of interesting interactions and violence and other stuff, eventually leading to Hong Kong becoming a British colony and now transitioned back into being a Chinese territory. So that story is what happened in physical world with physical commodities. And that's actually happening right now in digital world, except it's a little bit invisible to us. It's a little less painful, but it does actually take a lot of your time. I mean, the amount of addiction that we have to our phones scrolling is quite incredible. So I think it's really important for us to be both sensitive to how our data is being used, but also how do we hold on to the data right? And how do we actually get paid by the data as well? And I want to have Tandin respond to what you're saying on this from the following prompt, which is actually, there's another network state in the world, one of the largest, and is actually the Buddhist network state. There are hundreds of millions of people who subscribe to the Buddhist faith, like the Christian faith, like the Muslim faith, and Bhutan actually being kind of the anchor of Vajrayana Buddhism, right? They actually are a thought leader that their teachings influence the lives of hundreds of millions of people, even though Bhutan itself is only 700,000. Tanya, you want to comment a little bit more about the way that, both the data that we use today to train our models, and also the data that we want to teach the AI, right? Going back to your film idea, how do we actually want AI to learn, right? What kind of influences we want it to have? Just help us think through that a little bit more.
Okay, okay, I'll give an analogy of space. I think the space within this room is connected with the space outside this room, and this space is connected to the space in America, totally on the other side of the world. So space is a gigantic thing, and but within that space, everything exists like building structures, human beings, everything. So I think to relate it with blockchain and its cryptos, I think we human beings think we're very limited. We think we are just the Bitcoin, just the Ethereum, just all the other thing, but we are basically the whole network. And Buddhism is all about go beyond your body and go beyond your mind. Is there anything else that doesn't die? And it is like a pursuit inwards where we find something very powerful within ourselves that can never be destroyed, never be unhappy. And I think that is happiness, right? So just like that, we're all here in pursuit of happiness. We can say we're pursuing blockchain, Web3, Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything, but all of us are pursuing happiness. So this is pursuit of happiness, and I feel that being mindful is of immense importance. Can anybody here mention how many times do you think human beings have been extinct? Yes, I think few scientists have said maybe 4 or 5 times we've been extinct, or during the dinosaur era, or but I think it's all based on assumption. But it struck me like an epiphany that we might have been human beings from ape, primitive ape, before that dinosaurs, then we became human beings. I think we might have been extinct at least a couple of hundred times. That's my assumption. Couple of hundred times human beings evolved from ape to being human beings, and I think we became extinct at least a couple of hundred times on this planet Earth. And I think it is a possibility in the future if we don't feed good things to AI that we might become extinct again, and we might have to start from being an ape, and then that's going to be a long task. We don't want to do that. So we have to break the cycle, I feel. And as a filmmaker, I'm a thinker. Not necessarily very accurate, but I think it's a possibility. So I think we have to feed AI with good things from. So that's where in Dharma, that's why Dharma code. That's where we can feed AI with empathy, compassion, and good things, and that lies in Dharma. And code is a synonymous word that Max and I picked for AI. So that's why Dharma code is an interesting thing. It is a movie right now, but it's definitely going to be something related to blockchain, crypto soon. So hope if anybody's interested later, please talk to Max and myself. Thank you.
Reyes, I know you're about to head out, so maybe you can give us a little bit parting words of wisdom, and then, yeah, we'll kind of go for the rest of the panel as well.
I think one of the unique opportunities afforded by these network states is that we get to reimagine the full stack of what a country is in a purely digital economic form, which is not something that has been possible before this particular movement has taken on this epic task. And it means something quite profound that I think nobody really truly understands, certainly not myself, which is that, as we've just heard, the data of an entire country and its incentive mechanisms and its capital structures are about to be completely captured in a way that can be exposed through APIs, consumed by LLM agents, and made agentic. And we simply do not have the language nor the dreams to be able to capture what will happen, in such a situation. I think that is one of the things that excites me most about the network state dream, is that we're effectively reimagining the entire constitutional body of what it means to be human, en masse together within a country or on this planet. I can foresee a world where we're all working, laboring a lot less, and thinking and dreaming a lot more, and that's very exciting. But also, as just hinted, I can see a world where only a few people on the planet are given that privilege, and everyone else sort of becomes even more of a cog or a worker bee within the dreams of that minimal elite. And I think a responsibility we all have, both on this panel and in this room and in this conference this week, is to figure out a way to make that more of an equitable distribution, because I think on some level it's inevitable. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well said.
And if you feel free to take calls and stuff, we're just going to continue down the line. Yeah.
I just have to jump on a call. I'll still be in the house.
Yeah. So, Luke, maybe just to hand you back the microphone for a second, as you're running Rack, and as Rack becomes kind of a premier destination for a lot of blockchain companies to consider, can you talk a little bit more about the challenges you face, right, dealing with the government, right, and the learnings you have actually of helping manage the transition, right, being able to sort of have one foot in the future and one foot firmly in the present, and the work that you're doing to make those two things meet each other.
I wish I had more colleagues in the room. Every day is a challenge. So the way Rack Digital Asset Oasis is positioned is to be on the bleeding edge, right? To try to tackle and make sense of the latest technology. So I play around the concept of decentralization professionally for over 7 years. It's a beautiful concept, but when you try to make it operational, it's like, it doesn't work. So what we're trying is effectively to make practical some very exciting technology. So creating a legal wrapper for decentralized autonomous organization was one of this challenge. Say, well, how can you be decentralized and at the same time you need to have people that are responsible? It's like, because otherwise it doesn't work. It's nice. So, because we touch this bleeding edge, it's every day is an internal bleeding, because you are facing resistance from every corner. Your compliance is not understanding what you're doing. Your legal team tells you, well, you're in the gray, so it doesn't work. We also have a registry. Your leadership is also putting faith in you, but at the same time, it's like, you sure what you're doing? It's like, what you're launching a license for AI agent? Is that going to blow up in your face? So every day is a challenge. But on the flip side, and frankly speaking, this was also for me a big reason, despite my love of Hong Kong, to relocate, is that I saw in that small, fast-growing emirate an opportunity to actually make a leap. And after 20 years operating in banking and asset management, I was tired. Well, I'm actually approaching my 50s. It's like, I don't have 20 more years to make something happen. And I think there are now government in place that seems to be ready to give it a shot. And if you think about it, I'm basically a representative of a government. I'm a government official, and I'm telling crypto company, come with us. We are crypto friendly. If we don't have the rules, we're going to make them happen for you. But that's a permanent challenge. How you go about this? Yeah, you need to have the support of the people, and you need to be able to attract the right company. Because to some extent, every company that you bring on board from different technology, be it a DAO, be it we launch a license for non-custodial wallet. Geez, this was also internal bleeding. You need to make sure that it's going to work. You don't really get a second chance. So there's a lot of screening that needs to be put in place. But so far, so good. I think as long as it's surrounded by the right people, it works. Just on the concept of this pop-up city, we've discussed other type of events. That's also a way for me, for us to get around the problem, right? Because we discuss, so we license AI agent developer, but how can you actually license a piece of code? That's a very different ball game. I don't have the answer. I don't think that anybody in the room has an answer. But if you all sit around the table, or we all sit in a tent in Ras Al Khaimah, drink some tea, and think about it, maybe something is going to come out of it. So there's a lot of experimentation also that need to be put in place. And going back to the UAE, one of the advantages is that you have so much people traveling around. So there's always a different mindset, different leaders, a different way of thinking that is passing through, and you can capture this.
Thank you so much, Luke. And so there's a pop-up city in Ras Al Khaimah in the future. Please find him to learn more about more details, and we'll have a chance to continue this conversation in the Emirates as well. Just giving the microphone to Amber. Thinking about the incredible successes Zulus has had in activating so many people around the world to think about creating their own intentional communities. Can you share a bit more of what the 2025 looks like for Zuzulu, and also some of the very interesting conversations and evolutions of Zuzulu? Now I know some people have actually gone and bought buildings, right? Now actually taking ownership of physical space and starting to become an embodied location in different places.
Yeah, so we're at the year 3. So first year it was initiated by this one Zuzulu gathering that's called by Vitalik. So that is the sitting community of this. And then there's a lot of people passionate about community building inside of the community, and different people had different ideas of like where they want to lead us into. So for example, last year, starting from Honduras, there's this Vitadel basically went there and they started a longevity focused pop-up. There are ZK focused ones, there are governance ideologies focused ones. There are a lot more now that's focused on subcategories. And then this is kind of like more diversifying and both geographically and theme wise as one thing. And part of the Zuzulu kind of decision on this is also like they wanted to sponsor as many as attempts as possible, because one of the ethos of Zuzulu is also like experimental social technology, because building kind of like face-to-face community is sort of a social tech instead of like hardware software tech. It's kind of like how do you, so some of the parameters, for example, how many people you put in one location for how long. Right now, like a encouragement of this is maybe like around about like 150 to 200 for more than 6 weeks, so that you sort of get to know, get to see the faces enough that you bump into this person, you remember them for life. But then there are smaller one, longer one, shorter one. There are like different, like experimentation on this. But then notably, people are started to buy lands too. Luke was talking about Canton. So there is a community in Switzerland called Switzerland. They were trying to buy a theme park for a while, and part of their pitch is if we draw enough like people into Switzerland and then we can vote, then is it possible that we have a pop city as a canton? Right. It's going to be harder on the German side, but maybe easier on the French side. But that was one of the initiatives that has been going on since Q1. And then another group is buying a vertical, like 16-story building in SF. And they were trying to like get each floor into different theme. As for the purpose for cross-pollination, it's starting in May. If you guys are stopping by SF, I highly encourage you to check it out. It's called Frontier Tower. That's one of the first deal that's being executed right now. Of like, okay, it's going to be community owned, and they're trying to the Monaco mode of where they give the benefits to the people inside of the community by giving them a discounted lease. So to ensure that you have like a cheap, affordable rent, which is like most of the cost of like living in a pop-up city. There are a few more coming out. Like it's great to see that a lot of those locations happened before, continuing to happen this year as well in Argentina, in Thailand, in India. And then last year, one of the interesting thing is around before DevCon, they started Road to DevCon, and different pop-up cities sort of coordinated so that they happen at the same time in October in Chiang Mai. It's affordable, it's large enough that they can sort of spread around and have different kind of cultural and theme. There were 8 at the same time in Chiang Mai, so like a lot of different community went there. They had their own thing, but then they sort of have the cross pop-up kind of interaction activity as well. So hopefully, if like I heard that Dev Connect is going to be in Argentina this year, so it would be fun if like we can sort of coordinate and orchestrate something like that in Argentina again too.
Thank you so much, Amber. Arch, I'll let you kind of be our concluding voice. Maybe Tanya says something else. I think what's really amazing is that through Vana, you've both shown it's possible actually for people to own their own data, and now we can actually bring that as a holistic solution to governments, right? Not only are collections of people able to participate, but actually maybe at the country level, the countries are able to opt into this process. Can you talk a little bit about GDPR as well, and sort of the right to own your data, and the very interesting way that you're actually empowering people to sort of take control and then incentivize the use of their data for AI models in the future?
Yeah, for sure. So one actually interesting thing that everybody's kind of raised is what do we do with the existing regulations, and how do we do this network state thing within that? And I think data is actually a really cool example of how you can kind of maneuver it. Full disclosure, in a former life I was a corporate lawyer, so I apologize for my sins. But you, basically with GDPR, if you're a data controller or a data processor, i.e. you move people's data around or you do something with people's data, you have obligations, right? Disclosure, etc. However, there's this exception in GDPR which exists across several data regimes, which is if you personally own that data and enter into a transaction with that yourself, you can do whatever you want with it, as long as you're provided with explicit consent to do that. So it's this fantastic thing where it actually fits in with this Web3 ethos of self-sovereignty, self-sufficiency, agency, that if we create a chain in which data is decentralized, so we allow individuals to store their data wherever they want, what's written on chain is the location of that data, how it's verified, and then the user permissions that data with their private keys. In that entire process, no one actor holds, controls, or processes that data other than the users themselves. And so users are able to do these transactions by themselves, for themselves, and contribute things. And I think I kind of talked about this in the last piece, but it's agency and sovereignty is so critical to the idea of the network state, and data is so critical to that. So that's why my co-founder and I architected the solution around that, where it's like, okay, you can try to regulate my rights away, you can try to steal my data, but ultimately, I have the end right to this thing. I can be a sovereign being as it relates to my data. I just have to go out there and claim it to myself.
That's amazing. Guys, I just want to give a round of applause to our amazing panelists. Thank you so much for coming and spending time here, and thank you for DNS being a fantastic host and location. I highly encourage you guys to talk to these guys. It's very rare to have them all in one place. It's kind of a brain trust. I want you guys to think a lot about the following questions. Do you own your data? Right? How are you going to participate in this AI revolution? Right? And also, where do you want to live? Do you want to go to places that are open and welcoming to the Web3 ethos? And if so, please find Luke, and Tandin and Amber, and they can tell you about all of the amazing locations that are now becoming available for us to choose from. So with that, thank you guys so much.